Welcome to Matrix Network's YouTube channel. Matrix Networks is an organization that prides itself on delivering exceptional client experiences through innovative solutions made simple. We focus on three distinct silos of technology: internet optimization, infrastructure design, deployment, and management, and of course the applications, cloud phone systems, contact centers, etc. In today's video, welcoming in our partners in LANtelligence to discuss a very exciting topic in IVA technology. That's Intelligent Virtual Agent, or as I like to call it, Intelligent Virtual Automation. Enjoy what you hear today. And if you have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out at info@mtrx.com. And of course, subscribe down below. Cheers. But we like to do things differently here. So joining us now is Martin Tracy. Marty, Marty, you there, bud? How's it going, man?
Ryan, is that you?
It is me, and you appear to be on an airplane, which is a bit of a shock to me. What's going on, man?
I am. I think we're probably somewhere over Dallas or so, middle of the country.
I like how you say that very calmly, nonchalant, like I'm expecting this. You want to give yourself an explanation here, bud?
My apologies. I'm headed to wonderful Newark, New Jersey to help out a big client of ours who's looking to get some automation done. And you know how it is when you've got to go West Coast to East Coast, it takes all day.
Well, aren't you an important individual? You know who else is important? The fine folks that join this webinar live, buddy. Don't appreciate it. So if you get to bail on them, then I get to be your captain for today's presentation. So Marty, please get started. We got a lot to get to here, bud.
Absolutely. Well, happy Wednesday morning to everybody. My name's Marty Tracy with LANtelligence, and I'm going to take a brief amount of your time today to intro a much better follow-up presentation from Ken Roebuck on our team, focusing in on IVA's automation and how we use this to help solve some of the big business problems you're all dealing with today. Very quick history. LANtelligence, like Matrix, was founded back in the 90s. We come from the voice space, but we've evolved into a contact center as a service, intelligent virtual agent, workforce automation company. Our biggest focus has always been driving customer growth and efficiency through technology. We have US and Canadian offices and have clients that have sites all over the globe. We become an extension of our clients, a lot like the Matrix team. We really like to drive innovation within our clients' environments, we like to help them put new things into play to make them more competitive and really create value from our partnerships. Our core values very much align with those at Matrix, very customer-centric, very proactive, very much about employee engagement. And maybe the biggest thing for LANtelligence I want to tell you about is our goal is to create competitive advantages, leveraging technology for our customers so they're more successful. Over the last 20 years, we've had great success stories with folks like ServiceNow, Viasat, Illumina. These are customers that we started working with very early in their stages that have grown to be household names. So,
Marty, this is your captain speaking. We are going up to 30,000 feet right now. Not that you need to know that, but I just wanted to interrupt real quick. Go ahead.
Oh, gotta love that interruption. Always right at the best part of the movie you're watching, although I'm sure most of you work on planes like I am today. So the big challenges you're all facing today, I went to a couple sources, Entrepreneur Magazine, Indeed, IBM, a couple other surveys, and the big 6 or 7 are revenue growth. That's always something that's never changing. There's always the drive. Hiring is a big issue today in a lot of different markets and verticals, and not something that appears to be going away. Increasing profits, always key and important. Regulation is something most folks don't think about, but as we begin to automate, as you as organizations gather more and more data, as you take any kind of payment processing, regulation becomes a part of what you have to deal with, and automation can be a key to simplifying that. Employee engagement, the most important part of any employee's relationship with you as an employer, is keeping them engaged, value in their job, keeping their job interesting and exciting. Maintaining quality relationships with customers. Your engagement with a customer is incredibly valuable. We all know how hard it is to find new customers and how it is important to not only find new, but maintain the great relationships you have. It's where you will find a third of your new customers. Meeting customer needs. I think we can all agree over the pandemic that customer service has fallen out the window. I'm on a plane right now, and if any of you have dealt with flying recently, if anything's wrong, don't try calling because you'll be on hold for an hour and 20 minutes. So in their world, in the airline world, the ability to automate and give you self-service tasks has become paramount to providing any level of service. And last, retaining employees. We all want to keep our great people. One of the best ways to do it is leverage automation so that what they're working on is the important stuff, not the day-to-day simple manual items. So how do we solve these challenges through automation? What is customer service automation? It's automatically resolving customer queries through a means of self-service resources, messaging, and automated functions. And we've all experienced this. And what we're going to talk about today really is the 2.0 generation. It's not the chatbots that don't do things well. It's not poorly designed knowledge bases. This is about creating complete, successful self-serve engagements that customers can use to quickly get the things they need. At the same time, the reduction of the effort spent on these non-essential or these simplified but essential engagements with customers allows your folks to spend more time on the more important human-to-human interactions. So let's talk about the benefits. Benefits of automation.
Marty, this is your captain speaking. At this time, I would like to thank all of our gold and platinum members for joining today's flight.
Oh yes, platinum member. Way too much time on planes.
Yes, of course.
So when it comes to benefits, improving response times. With self-service, such as knowledge-based, intelligent virtual agents, you can respond to client inquiries in the fastest manner in a way that they'd like. So by improving response times, you're really improving their customer experience. Increasing customer satisfaction, 69% of customers today prefer self-serve. By making it available and making it the right experience, you're really increasing that satisfaction. Increasing sales, 52% of customers purchase more through a successful self-service engagement than through a human interaction. Reducing churn. This is something that is not only important on the customer side, but on the internal side. And by having self-service interactions available for your customers, being able to successfully complete these interactions on their first try in a quick engagement can increase your customer service ratings more than 50%. In addition, in the contact center world where agent churn is 3 times the average of any other job, having your agents having the time to focus on the more interesting, more engaged interactions within their job by allowing self-serve to serve through automation, the more manual tasks really helps reduce churn. As well, freeing up time for staff. So IBM did a study recently that 80% of routine customer service questions could be resolved through automation. And this really helps free up that time for your agents to engage on the important things. Cutting costs. Costs are a huge part of the challenges moving forward along with staffing in other areas. And automation can be a tremendous benefit. Harvard Business Review said the average B2C is somewhere around $7 and the average B2B is around $10 per interaction. According to C2 Enterprises, they have that interaction as high as $12, but the cost of a self-service interaction is as low as 10 cents. So you can see there's tremendous savings. And when you think about the costs of staffing, those numbers become apparent very quickly. In addition, intelligent virtual agents and other automation allow 24/7 access, where today, you may not be staffing 24/7, or it's a far more reduced cost than staffing for 24/7. One of the great things about automation and intelligent virtual agents, reducing errors. When there is an error in a transaction and you are training and correcting, it only ever happens once. Once you fix it, it never happens again. I don't believe that can be said, unfortunately, for any of us as human beings. And then last, multilingual. to take the SMS, the voice into intelligent virtual agent transactions and put them in multiple languages is a much simpler step than training and staffing for multiple languages, and a far more efficient resource than having folks with language capabilities that are not fully utilized.
Marty, I know everyone loves PowerPoints, but maybe we wrap this up, approaching our final descent, and we got a lot more interesting content to get to. So
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Where's the beverage cart? So what are your customers saying? Nuance, who's been in the voice business, the voice interactive business for going on 20 years, had a recent study. And what are people saying? What do your customers want? Well, 81% of customers would prefer to find the answers themselves. This is how they want to serve. This is what the audience is looking for. 89% of customers expect you as an organization to give them self-serve options and applications. 53% of adults online will abandon an engagement if they cannot find the tools and the access they want within the first 5 minutes. 73% of consumers believe that time is the most critical thing when it comes to a good or bad customer service experience. So self-serve cuts the times down and gives them the interaction they're looking for. These last two are very important if you're focusing on the future and the next generations of buyers. Only 10% of buyers want to have a chat engagement from their laptop. People want to do these things from a mobile devices. An intelligent virtual agent is a great way to interact with mobile devices through SMS or even through voice or video. When it comes to the consumers that are under 25, their least likely point of access for an interaction with you is through the web. So as you can see, the web was a great first step to automation for a lot of companies providing interaction and access, but it's very quickly becoming not the choice. So your journey for automation, couple keys, and we'll then let Ken jump into all the really interesting stuff, showing you how the IVA works, different applications for it, all the ways you can create automation within your environments in all different verticals. Create an easy path to human interaction. What I mean by that is, in every self-serve automation, always have a way for your customer to get to a human if they're not getting the resolution they're looking for. Focus on simple tasks. You'll be amazed at the automation ideas you come up with. Automation needs to be consistent across the entire customer journey. Don't jump from one to the other, and start by making a simple list, right? Shipping details, simple inquiries, account balances, internally password resets or externally, security screening, scheduling. There's a million applications in every business that can be done this way. And most importantly, talk to the Matrix team. This is great technology in the marketplace. A lot of it is referred to as low code and simplistic. In the end result is we're experts in this, and partnering and leveraging our expertise is what makes these successful and what makes your business successful when it comes to automation. And I think we've all experienced on a regular basis the other side of those projects. So thanks everybody for joining me at 32,000 feet. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I wanted to make sure I got the message across before Ken took over.
Well, thank you, Martin. That was fantastic. Can't tell you how proud I am of you for pulling this off. Maybe next time, try and be here live, buddy. Seriously though, thank you. Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate that. I'm launching a final poll here to figure out if that was a complete train wreck or not. Hopefully you enjoyed that intro from Marty, an incredibly smart businessman and a wonderful person to talk to about your customer engagement and what IVA could look like, as he has served hundreds of clients, innovating the way that they do their processes internally. So now that we've come to the end of that, glad it's over. We have a really great presentation from Ken Zrobach that is also kind of like the guru or the engineer behind, the mad scientist, if you will, behind all of these build outs, deployments, you know, everything that goes into it. Every situation is unique, and Ken is kind of the illustrator architect behind a lot of that. So I'm really excited to have Ken join us today and give us a presentation on the technology itself. So Ken, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, Ryan. My name is Ken Zrobach, Vice President of Digital Transformation Technologies at LANtelligence, and my first task is to share this PowerPoint for the technology. All right, so let me just switch my displays and get my...
That makes you feel any better, Ken? 50% of the audience thinks I should never do that again. So
let me see the screen, Ryan.
Yep, I got it.
I figured it out. I keep my job now. All right. So what I really want to do is get away from the acronyms and explain, to start off, what an interactive virtual agent is, talk about a little bit about workflow automation, show you some demos and walk through some call scenarios. And then if we have time, talk about some vertical specific applications. So, oh, you know what? I forgot to make sure that I was sharing sound. So just let me get a sec to stop it so I can make sure I'm sharing sound. Share screen, share. Okay, I'm sharing sound. Great. All right, what is an interactive virtual agent? So an interactive virtual agent is a technology that leverages natural language processing, or NLP, and it utilizes the communication channels of voice, SMS, email, and chat. And as Marty had said in his introduction, chat's really low on our list because everybody's worked and had experiences with a chat bot, and we almost cringe when anybody says chat bot. So we're really talking about a voice virtual agent, a text virtual agent, even an SMS virtual agent. And if you have to, we can also do chat as well. Now, an IVR, which I would assume most of you are familiar with, is an interactive voice response. And that's typically not an IVA, which I might say virtual agent, and which I mean interactive virtual agent. Although IVRs, which are the interactive voice response, can be highly functional, they don't incorporate NLP in their solution. So this is typically what you'll have, an auto tenant, you have a call center where it may say, it'll look up your data, it'll look up your account code, and it'll do a database dip. It may ask you for intent routing, saying which department would you like, and it's only really looking at one word or one phrase, whereas virtual agents will do the whole, you can actually have it up to a communication in sentences and have a normal speech back and forth. So IVAs, or virtual agents, are normally associated with self-service technologies, and they are linked with contact center solutions, but they're not actual contact. They're not required for contact centers. Okay, so that we can actually leverage that or layer it on top so that you can have, you can plug it in front of whatever you have today. So as I mentioned, it can be part of a contact center because your contact center is kind of your main doorway to all your customers and your CX, your customer service. But again, when we go through these use cases, the virtual agent can be a standalone solution. So you can insert this technology into your tech stack, not necessarily infrastructure, without having to forklift. If you spent a lot of, just deployed a big contact center or some new CRM and you don't really want to make any changes, we can sort of insert that into the flow. So what is workflow automation? Workflow automation is the process of automating back-end tasks using triggers and schedules to run other processes. So a typical example in the contact center world is, let's say that you're doing an outbound call and you talk to somebody and they say, call me back in 2 weeks. And then you dispose of that call or put a disposition code saying follow up in 2 weeks. The workflow automation kicks off where it sees that disposition code being chosen. It will then fire off some API calls into your scheduling backend, or maybe SQL database updates to say, hey, in 2 weeks, I want you to pop back up and tell this person that you need to call them back as a reminder, or even as sophisticated as putting it in an actual outbound dial list so that as soon as you log in that day, it starts making calls pops it up to you and you say, hey, you're supposed to call this person back. So that's one example of using triggers or different states in your existing technologies. The other thing is using schedule. So you may decide that you want to batch update all transactions into a separate database, or you have a proprietary database where you want to abstract or extract only particular data to be exposed for that has maybe non-client specific information that could be used in things like routing in a contact center or a virtual agent. Now, workflow automation and IVAs pair together very well, like a nice wine and your dinner. It allows you to provide a more complete self-service solution for your customer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through just a basic virtual agent example. And this is just a couple steps, but hopefully you can hear this because I've turned on the sound. What we've got here is, this is an inbound call. So inbound call comes, and this inbound can be an SMS, a voice. In this scenario, it is a voice call. And when the call comes in, it's going to be answered by the virtual agent.
Thanks for calling. I am Lisa, the virtual agent. How can I help you today?
So it prompts the caller for some input. The caller provides some input.
I would like to schedule an appointment.
So that goes back to the virtual agent. The virtual agent now sends that information. It transcribes that speech and goes to the NLP engines, which is transcribing it, and it will come back to say, hey, this person was calling about an appointment request. So what it returns back to the virtual agent is, what should you say back? So the virtual agent will then open up that channel again and reply back to the customer.
I can help you with that. What date and time were you looking to book the appointment?
So now we're asking, so we've done that one cycle. So we've gone through and we've collected the information that we needed for this first step. But because it is a conversation, we have more information we want to gather. We have to gather the requirements that we would need to schedule an appointment, kind of like name, date, time, vehicle, if it's for a car dealership, it's for medical, facility, doctor, all that sort of stuff. So the next phase, what we have is the person's now responding.
How about this Friday, the 16th at 9 a.m.?
So they're giving regular speech Friday at 16 at 9 p.m. They're not saying anything specific.
Okay, let me check to see if that time is available.
At this point, the virtual agent now realizes, hey, this person is asking for time. Let me go and check, and this is time. And what it does is it returns in the format, a universal ISO code text format for date, provides it back to the virtual agent. The virtual agent at that point internally is going to parse that information because it knows I have to make an API call to their scheduling system, their CMS, their ERP, their CRM, their DMS, in the format it needs to see if that time slot is available. And what it's going to do is it's going to return whether that slot is available or not. And once it does, it's going to open up a channel back to the caller.
Excellent, that time is available. What is the reason for the appointment?
And the conversation continues, right? So now this is, as you can see, these are two basic examples or two parts of a basic example. Scheduling, as I'm going to show you today, is not an overly complicated call flow. We'll look at a more complicated one as the second use case. It's pretty simple, but as you can see, we're going to transcribing voice calls, we're sending it off to natural language processing engines, we're formatting date and text, making API calls, all this in the background where the customer doesn't realize, just think they're having a conversation. So the first thing that I wanted to show here was an existing virtual agent that we have, and just give you some background and how this came about. So we have a large US dealership group. In some of my slides says 160 stores, some says 140. They constantly acquire and sell stores. So let's say 140 plus. And one of the things that we did for them years ago was we realized that having a centralized reservation appointment center to schedule service calls would be in their best interest. So all calls that arrive into the service department, if not answered immediately, the calls are redirected to a centralized contact center. So the option is to try and get to the local service desk as soon as possible. If they're busy, send it to a centralized call center. And they started off with 8. Now they were up to about 200 plus agents booking service appointments, filling those bays in the service department. Now with call centers, high turnover, continuing onboarding of new agents, The pandemic occurred. A lot of the agents didn't return. Customers now faced with increased hold times to book service. The agents that left were overloaded with calls. They serviced high-end brands like Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, Range Rover, and obviously those people, those customers probably had a very low tolerance for these increased hold times. So, and also they're seeing an increase in abandon times and callers not willing to wait on hold. So what we did was we looked at what their existing self-service options were, and the customer and the DMS that they had, the dealer management system, included a web portal that every dealership could provide, that you could go on through the web, through your computer, and log in and use and book your appointments. The participation from their customers was very low in this, and it could be a number of issues. It could be the age group of those doing it. It could also be the fact that I didn't find that on a mobile device it rendered very well, so it was difficult to navigate. And the customers that was, they would prefer to speak to somebody to book their appointment. So again, just to review, so this is a typical call flow. I don't know if this is in the way, but I'll move it. Typical call flow goes into the service desk, during the service department. If the service advisor is busy, customers used to go to voicemail, right? Sorry, no one's available. We'll call you back as soon as possible. If they're busy, they're not technically calling you back. Unhappy customers. Lost revenue, missed revenue, unhappy general managers, service managers, and the like. The difference, we put in a centralized contact center for them years ago. And at this time, if all service advisors are busy, it forwards over to a centralized call center. It grew at one point to 200 plus agents. Everybody's happy. Appointments booked, service revenue retained. We're all good. Then pandemic. So we're all aware of pandemic happened. And what happened was, of those 200 agents, 80 returned. And they were in a continual state of trying to find people, train them, and get them on. And the dealership itself, or the dealerships, have different volumes based on day. Mondays are the busiest day of the week, whereas Saturdays are the least busy. And finding enough people to cover the overlaps and the flows was difficult. And obviously they had increased demand of calls, frustration, empty service bays. So what we did was we came up with and designed and developed Lisa, which is the live interactive scheduling agent. This is a virtual agent. So Lisa, the virtual agent, allows callers looking to self-service to do it on their own, to prevent them staying on hold or hanging up. Gives them something to do even when they're in queue. If they decide they don't want to wait any longer, they can even opt out to choose Lisa and continue the booking themselves. And you can use the voice option, which is speak to Lisa, or you can send an SMS or basically text message to Lisa to schedule your service appointment. The immediate benefits: Lisa works 24/7, 7 days a week, never takes time off, never asks for a raise. And it also allowed the customers to call in when they wanted to. So somebody gets up early and they don't open till 7, but wants to call at 6 a.m., they could schedule an appointment. Someone gets home late from work at 11 p.m. and they want to schedule an appointment, they have the ability to do that. So they could call in at their convenience. And it said Lisa deflected calls, but what Lisa did was she took the calls and allowed the basic tasks, as Marty mentioned, the basic functionality to look up, book, and provide some information to schedule an appointment, allowed that to do it. So the agents that were in the call center would have less calls to take because we could deflect, a large portion of these calls from coming in. And then anything that was of higher complexity that couldn't be handled by sort of just a scheduling agent, we always make sure there's an option for that person to get to a human by opting out, saying help, transfer, whatever. But those that stay with it can process that sort of self-service interaction themselves. And so one of the key things is with the high turnover, staffing shortages, Lisa really sort of mitigates the downturn in the number of agents and allows some more flexibility in the customer to give them some more buffer to ramp up on contact center people and bringing them on board. And as Marty mentioned too, another benefit is that you can remove some of those more mundane tasks from your everyday agents, and they can focus on the higher complex or more complex, higher value type of transactions or problem solving. So I'm just going to go through here and show you what the actual call flow looks like. So this is a voice call. It's a call that's coming in through voice or SMS. And the key thing to know here is the technology and the natural language design on the back end is the exact same. So whether you call in on voice or you call in SMS, you're not building something specifically for the media type or the channel. You're just, we're reusing the existing one. So again, customers will deal and will want to interact with you in the way that they want to interact. So, you know, some of the things that you'll take a look at is things like social media eventually, you know, WhatsApp, all other technologies, chat and email are also function other omni-channel options that they have. So basically the call comes in and the scheduling flow, it's basically looking up saying, hey, does this number exist in our records? So if it doesn't, it asks the customer for their name. If it does, it looks up the customer based on their phone number. At this point, it does a web service call, API call into their DMS to query the customer's information, then returns that information and saves it in the parameters of the call. Because one of the things with the virtual agent is if you're already in, I don't want to have to prompt you again and again for information I should have. You know, it's akin to you call your credit card company, they ask you your 16 digits of your credit card, and first thing they ask you is when they answer, what's the first 16, you know, what's the 16 digits of your credit card? Like, I already gave you that. So what we did was we kept that information so that we didn't have to keep prompting customers for any information if we already had it. So that's going to save that customer information. And now it's going to follow the path and say, ask for the date and time. What date and time do you want to come in? Now we have to validate that against the store schedule. So are they asking for 6 a.m. and the store opens at 7 a.m.? Are they asking for Thanksgiving and the store is closed? And when I say store, dealerships refer to themselves as stores. And also I had to take a look at, are they asking for, you know, when they say 9 a.m., are they asking for 9 a.m. in the morning or 9 p.m.? So there's some logic there to validate that information. Then asking for the year, make, and model. And this is part of the requirements that this DMS requires, that there's certain pieces of information they need to make this reservation. At that point, you also have to go back to the DMS and validate this. So say, is this a valid car? Because there are times where, you know, through testing, I did like 2017 Honda Ridgeline and it said invalid. And again, I'm using an example. I'm not know if it's a correct example, but if it's an invalid vehicle, because maybe the Ridgeline wasn't made in that year, it's not going to accept that booking. And the last thing we want to do is we want to get to the very end and then try to make the booking and then have it fail. So we do a lot of the validation up front. Then we ask for the reason why you coming in. And then with SMS and in the voice, you can ask for, do you want to drop off the car? You want to wait? This is important because the service advisor would have to decide if this person has come in, do I have to arrange a car, right? During the pandemic with the voice, we literally had to turn that piece off because no one was allowed to wait anyways. So in the demo, you'll see in the voice, we don't really ask that question, but in the SMS version, we do. Then we come back, because obviously once it's gone through, we had a confirmation code and we confirm back to the customer, here's your date and time. You know, if there's anything else that they want to deal with, no, end the call. If they do, let's say they have they have a question about what's in that maintenance package, they want to transfer to an agent, and they transfer that agent to end the call. And I believe what I have next is, if it doesn't start automatically, anytime we would basically give an out for any of the callers to say they can transfer to a live agent at any time they had difficulty or calling in a bad environment, poor cell phone, you know, thick accent that it's not picking up on, have the opportunity to opt out. So always have an agent available. So what I have now is I'm going to play for you. This is a virtual agent demo, and this is working with an active customer's DMS system, which I have access to. You'll know some stuff is pixelated, and you'll see in both that I've tried to keep any customer information hidden and some internal numbers hidden. But what I'll do is I'll walk through both a voice agent booking using the virtual agent, which is an actual live in production system right now. And we'll actually show you the next one, which would be through SMS as well. Okay, there we go. We're now going to demo the virtual agent with the car dealership. So I'm going to dial a dealership number. Right now I have their scheduling, their DMS up on the board. This is my login to their system for testing. And you can see right now I have no appointments. They have 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. I'm going to make that call.
I am Lisa, your live interactive scheduling agent. I will need a little information to schedule your service visit, such as day and time you would like to come in, as well as the year and model of your vehicle. Let's get started with what day you would like to come in.
I'd like to come in Wednesday, November 23rd, 7:15 a.m.
Wednesday, November 23rd, 7:15 a.m. Was that correct?
That was correct.
Give me a second to make sure that time is available. Excellent, that time looks available. Can you provide the year and model of your vehicle?
It's a 2019 Nissan Pathfinder.
What is the reason for your appointment?
Just a regular maintenance and an oil change, and I'd like to have my back brakes checked as well.
Great. I've gone ahead and booked an appointment for you on November 23rd, 7:15 a.m. Please allow at least 15 minutes to speak with your advisor at your scheduled appointment time. Thanks for calling LANtelligence. I'm looking forward to your next call. Have a great day.
Okay, so that call was placed for November 23rd at 7:15. Now this doesn't refresh, so all I'm going to do is move over to the 24th, which is Thanksgiving, go back, and what you'll see here is Michael Jordan has booked a call at 7:15 a.m. for a 2019 Nissan Pathfinder. If I go and take a look at this, I look at the appointment details. This is regular maintenance. It picked up on the first thing that I mentioned. In the appointment details, it basically takes me, it'll say here's the email associated with my account, any notes, and here's a transcription of what I said, regular maintenance and an oil change, and I'd like to have my back brakes checked. So this is, as close as it gets to as far as the transcription, but what happens is it will pick up regular maintenance as the first service item, and then it'll fill in the rest of the notes. And then it will say that this is now on the schedule for 7:15 a.m. on the 23rd of November. Now, one last detail. In the actual call flow, we had said that it looks up the caller's Annie to see if they're an existing customer. And in that call flow situation, you notice that it didn't ask me for my name because it actually found my customer name through my caller ID or my Annie. So if this was a new customer or someone who hadn't called in or someone called in on a phone that was not in the system, it would have asked them for their first and last name to update the record, because first and last name, vehicle, reason for service, and whether it's a drop off or you're picking up or you're waiting for the, drop off or you're waiting for the vehicle is a required field in this DMS. And there you go. There is a live booking of a service appointment using a voice virtual agent. Okay, we're now going to demo. Okay, now I'm going to use SMS in a conversational mode with the virtual agent to book an appointment. We just saw, or previously we did the voice. Now we're going to do the SMS. So I'm going to call in to the number.
You will be receiving a text message to book your appointment.
Now this is what happens when you call into the queue and you choose to opt for booking your appointment by SMS. Okay, so what we have down here is, I'm going to make this a little higher. It's going to ask me what date and time I want to bring my vehicle in, and I'm going to say, let's just say November 23rd, 7:30 a.m. Okay, ask me what type of vehicle I have, and it's a 2017 Nissan Altima. It's going to ask me for a description of what I want, and I can, because it's text, I basically have 160 characters, because that's anything over 160 characters moves it into 2 text messages. So I want to limit to 1, so I'm saying I need a regular minutes, and please check the rear brakes. Now it asked me, am I going to be waiting or dropping off the vehicle? You didn't see this in the voice, but in the SMS, we allow them to say, hey, do you want to be waiting or dropping off the vehicle? So I am going to wait. In case it's not sensitive, but I just follow instructions. And there it goes. Now it says appointment is successfully reserved for November 23rd at 7:30 a.m. And there's my confirmation code. So now if I go back to my DMS system and I just go to the 24th, which is Thanksgiving, and go back, you'll see now that I have an appointment booked in their system at 7:30 a.m. If I go into it, it's the name of virtual agent. That's the customer name I have. My number that it's associated with that I've been calling in from. Here's I need a regular maintenance and please check the rear brakes. So the full text of the service request is there. And the other thing, if I go into the notes, it basically tells me that it was booked by an SMS virtual agent. So the service advisor who may have questions who booked this, they can see that, oh, it was done through the virtual agent. And also I see here that it's a waiter. So that means I don't have to book any shuttle or ride share when they come in. And that's basically how you use SMS to book a service appointment using an SMS virtual agent. Okay, now, all right. So just to give you an overview of the summary of that deployment, I mentioned they had over 140 dealerships. They're currently self-service booking using the virtual agent, either SMS or voice, 4,000 per week. The average human agent books about 80 appointments per shift. So based on the calculations, the live agent covers about 8 to 9 hours per day, 8 to 9 hours per day. And the virtual agent now books the equivalent of 8 live agents. This is not a direct replacement of the agents. It's a CX and mitigation strategy. Mitigation because it allows those 8 agents to allow some buffer with the churn. And when they have busy days like Mondays and Tuesdays, while the contact center management is ramping up the hiring and the training. The CX strategy is basically, it's available 24/7 and 365 and allows the customers at any time to choose how they want to interact. Allows them to choose their terms on how they interact for booking. All right, so I'm going to quickly go through this last use case. So this is another one that we're currently involved in, and this is using, it's an emergency breakdown service for a company that provides it for their customers, 18-wheelers, large trucks, semis. Call comes into the call center. The truck can be broken in anywhere in North America. They need to get the vehicle back in service on the road to complete their run. Time off the road means less revenue for both driver and company. And guess what? Drivers break down usually in less than favorable conditions, like on freeways, on highways, in remote locations. So driver safety is also important in this application as well. So basically what happens today, they get an email from a dispatch or somebody calls in, they gather some details, what the truck is hauling, where they're located, which direction. Drivers may also call directly in, getting the same information. After the call, the dispatcher then has to take the driver's geography manually and look up all the vendors, their preferred vendors that could provide roadside assistance. Challenges, it's a manual process, right? So they got to track down the agents, they got to track down the repair vendors, they got to find them based on geography. If they're dealing with other issues like landslides, snowstorms that are causing problems for all the other drivers, drivers who need the emergency or emergency service are waiting online or hanging up, their phones are dying, or if the thing happens in the middle of the night when they're on skeleton crews, right? So people will have to wait. And then the dispatchers have to manually chase down roadside vendors for updates. So ultimately what we looked at was, a virtual agent and workforce automation solution here. So now whether the call is received by email or voice, the same information is parsed and automatically created in the system, their dispatch system, without the intervention of the dispatcher. So that's a bit of workforce automation. The virtual agent can accept and converse with the caller to gather necessary information that the dispatcher is used to and create a repair order. At any time while conversing with the virtual agent, the caller requests to speak to a live agent. They may do so, obviously, if it's an emergency. The information is collected, and then the virtual agent creates that service ticket in their fleet management system, again, without the use of the dispatch. Now, dispatch is working by exception. They're looking at these tickets, reviewing it, going, hey, do I have enough information on this? Do I need to call that person back? Is this qualified for roadside assistance? And then they can disposition that ticket to say, find roadside vendors. That automation, that disposition of that ticket, that change in the field will initiate the virtual agent to start an outbound calling campaign to find local roadside vendors for the driver. It extracts a list of vendors and then starts calling them the preferred roadside vendors. The vendors will be presented with a call, request, or text, depending on their methodology and how they want to be connected. Hey, this is the service. It's a flat tire. It's a mechanical, trailer issues. The vendor can accept a request, accept or reject. If so, both are being logged. If it is rejected, the virtual agent moves on to the next vendor on the list. When a vendor does accept, the virtual agent provides the vendors with the details, sends a text or email. The virtual agent will also collect estimated ETA, estimated time of arrival, providing the repair order number and truck and driver details to the repair vendor. And the virtual agent then text or call the driver and let them know which company is on the way to service their truck, as well as provide an ETA. So, let's say they need a tow and some tow truck company comes by that wasn't a preferred vendor. They know that this isn't the company they should be dealing with. So again, once the virtual agent records the ETA, accepts the call, it updates the dispatch record, which is another piece of workforce automation. The roadside vendor can now confirm arrival on site. They can reference the PO number. They can also update it's also going to update the dispatch ticket. So the dispatch knows of the vendor arrival. These are all steps that the dispatcher would have to chase. And once the service has been completed, the vendor can call back and text that the work was completed, referencing the repair order number, and include their invoice or service number. And these are all pieces that the dispatchers had to do before. Now, what we've done is solution the virtual agent, the workflow automation allows many of these tasks to be automated. Dispatchers are now working with exceptions, as I said, so they're dealing with the exceptions rather than the everyday call, and dealing with the level of interaction when you need higher level of human intervention. And then also the virtual agent helps backfill for the dispatchers when turnover and skeleton crews are on. The solution also allows the company to include this type of service to market it to other potential fleet customers of themselves. So they're using this technology in their sales process to sell their technology to other vendors. So in the last, I got a couple more minutes, and really what I want to do is I just want to cover a few of other use cases just to get the wheels spinning, where we've seen and where this can be in place for virtual agents. Collections, if you have customers that owe utility bills, property tax, you can create an outbound script that calls them, and it gives the opportunity for them to speak to the virtual agent versus a human to notify them that they have collections. We can also hook that up with a PCI compliant credit card payment system that allow them to pay that online as well, using the virtual agent, either using DTMF on their phone or voice. Product recalls, sending notifications out to people that or customers that their product needs recall, and then some HR functionality, pay slip requests, time off balance, allowing customers to call in or employees to call in and check up on some of these things if they want to know what their time off balance is or get a copy of their pay. Sick lines for retail healthcare. Someone needs to call in, they can call in the virtual agent and say that I'm not coming in today. The other thing with the retail sick line or the healthcare sick line is you can then start the process of the virtual agent now reaching out and looking for other people and automating that process. Hey, I have a shift is open. Would you want to accept it? And filling that shift. And the last piece that I have here is biometrics. And this is, we see a lot in fintech, financial institutions, where you can enroll customers, sort of the two-factor authentication. You can also do voice print. And by listening to the caller on the phone and asking them to say a sequence of numbers, you can use their voice print, very much like a fingerprint, to allow them to verify their identity and progress on to whatever application they need to. So I just wanted to sort of cover that last piece so that you saw some of the additional use cases that you could have for the IVA. I know that Ryan, I'm going to pass it back to Ryan.
Word from our sponsor. No, this isn't going to be a video recording where I act as a pilot again, probably never doing that ever again. But I want to introduce Sharpen. Sharpen CX is the newest member of the Matrix Network's contact center portfolio, working in conjunction with LANtelligence. We're very excited to have Sharpen as a part of our supplier portfolio, as they bring a very unique approach to contact center. I have about 45 bullet points that I'm supposed to read about Sharpen, but I'm not going to do that to you. I just want to let you know that they've made it through the vetting process. We have a very stringent vetting process when it comes to allowing suppliers into our portfolio. And we're very excited about what they're doing with artificial intelligence, as well as reporting and transparency for contact center managers. So with that, I am going to, in 3, 2, 1.